Sorry, I had to get that out. Oh, it's so good. Well, here we are. It's the end of the season. Uh, so many emotions, so many feelings. I trying to process them. I just literally finished watching episode 12. I believe I could probably collect myself by the time we get to episode 12. So let's start episode 9, Empress of Mars by Mark Gatiss. Gatiss he's never been a writer that really blew my mind, except recently when he wrote the episode Cold War. So the prospect of him doing another Ice Warriors episode, I was open to the idea, but man, there are so many things that are pretty conventional about it. I mean, in any of these situations, even in the classic series, um, you had a band of humans. Of course, they're going to be, and you always had that one poison pill that always sabotages the works, and it all had that. I suppose one of the major successes of Empress of Mars was the setup. I mean, the idea of a Victorian group of soldiers going up to Mars with an ice warrior. It's a pure Doctor Who concept. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that makes Doctor Who singularly Doctor Who, is to have something as ridiculous as a 19th century band of soldiers on Mars with ice warriors. Only Doctor Who could do that. This one also threw back to certain things we many people seem to forget about Ice Warriors. Is that in a fashion you could say that Ice Warriors are kind of like the Klingons of Doctor Who, in a fashion that they're a warrior race, but they have the honor, they're noble, they have their own code. And Doctor Who, way back in the 70s with The Curse of Peladon, actually brought that out. And it's awesome that we're reminded of that in this episode, because we got Alpha Centauri. That was amazing. I think overall, I could tell when Gatiss really wants to write something. He writes something that he's passionate about. It shows. I mean, you want proof, watch An Adventure in Space and Time. But here, when he wants to write Ice Warriors, he writes them well. Now, going on to episode 10, Eaters of Light. This one I was looking forward to, not because of the episode itself. I didn't know what to expect from it. Well, I was excited because it was the return of Rona Munro, who wrote the final broadcast episode of the classic series Survival. Not the final one filmed. Ghostlight was the last one filmed, but Survival was the last one broadcast. So I was really stoked to see her come back. This is new. It's the first time a classic series writer comes back to write for the new series. That is entirely new, and it's great. Now, what I thought about this episode, I think this one had some echoes similar to Empress of Mars, particularly the two factions concept, but I think this one worked better because it was an interesting setting, which really doesn't get shown a lot. And that's kind of what made this one work, particularly. And the set of characters was very refreshingly. I think we're kind of getting savvy to this point where we know the cliches, where we're kind of getting tired of two antagonistic factions kind of always being that all the way through. I liked how this one, they're already at the point where they see the common enemy. I mean, some are going to be more tetchy towards others, but I liked how the way they banded together at the end. I mean, it all felt organic. It felt good. I mean, admittedly, this is a bit of a filler episode, I won't deny, but there's things in there that it definitely didn't feel like a weak link episode. I'd still say the weak link of this season is still Knock Knock. I'd still say that's probably the weakest of the bunch. I will say the creature, the Eater of Light, is a beautiful creation, and I was very impressed with the design on that one. But overall, yeah, it's not one that moves the arc forward, but it's still a good one. Oh, and actually, an additional note. One of the things that was made a big deal about when she announced it was Bill's sexuality. But the thing I gotta say, I love the way this one was handled. Well, I love the way it's been handled the whole time. I like how it's not a character like. I like that that's not her character. I like that's just a part of her. And I like how I always like the times in the season when it was brought up, but this time I think was the one that took the trophy, was when she brings it up to the Romans, like saying, "Oh, I lean towards women," and they're like, "Oh, really? I'm both sides." And I forgot. Oh yeah, the Romans were kind of flexible on that, for a time. And I love how it's brought up so matter of factly, and it's really funny, and actually it does kind of make you think about the state of humanity, where it's like, wow, did we kind of step backwards on that front? It was funny, but it wasn't like a exploitative way. It was more just, oh, that was unexpected and delightful. It was great. Now we're moving on to the finale. Okay. I think the incredible thing about Stephen Moffat is his capacity to subvert expectations of what you're in for. It's never as easy as, just a doctor arrives and monsters attack. That's what it used to be. And I think the thing I'm really going to miss about Stephen Moffat is that it was never easy with him. And I think the thing that may have alienated some people from him was the fact that he very uncompromisingly always wanted to tell a complicated story, or at the very least something that appeared complicated. Honestly, I always feel good sci-fi should challenge you, and Doctor Who, even back in the day, always challenged me, and that's why I loved it more than anything else. This one definitely did, just because of the sheer physics of it, but I love the dramatic weight of frustration that Bill was having. I mean, and I freaked out in the beginning when she got shot. I mean, I knew that the Cybermen were going to pop in here, so I was worried about that, but at the same time, you don't think about that at that point onward. You're thinking, oh my god, she just got shot. And most of the time, when you get laser blast, your body's intact. But this one's like, no, this is definitive lethal. She's got a hole in her. I didn't know where they were going with it after that. But then to see her wake up and she's got a cyber implant, I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well. And she has a friend, Razor. My wife pointed out something really kind of wicked, and I'm with her on this. I wish they would not do this. They did this in season 4, and it drives me crazy when they do this. They revealed that John Sim was going to be in this season, and I'm like, oh, this would have been... It's already a great episode, and it was already had me throwing stuff because it was such a great reveal. It was paced correctly. The execution was right on the money. It had the right oomph, and the moment Missy sees him, and that cliffhanger was so dead on, and it was even made more so, more frantic because you see Bill as a Mondasian Cyberman. Because once they go cyber, very rarely do they ever go back. But it's made even worse because throughout this episode, you've been seeing Bill patiently, very patiently, with the help of this friend she trusted for 10 years, and it comes to nothing for all intents and purposes. It was a hell of a cliffhanger. I think it's another thing I'm going to miss about Stephen Moffat. As a showrunner, his cliffhangers were always the most interesting, and they never resolved in a traditional way. I mean, this goes all the way back to season 5 when he did Pandora Opens of the Big Bang. A lot of times they don't actually resolve right there, like traditional Doctor Who cliffhangers usually just resolve right there and they're done. But this one actually carries through all the way, and the payoff is amazing. Well, the payoff is actually in many ways it's amazing, but it's also unexpected in many respects, but simultaneously everything we could have ever wanted from the potential that was set up in that cliffhanger is all realized here. The dynamic between Master and Missy, it goes on levels. On one side, yeah, it's fun watching them pretty much swoon over each other and banter off each other, but at the same time flirt with each other, which I guess you could call that masturbation. Oh god. Oh, God. Yes, it's masturbation. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Okay, I'm done. I'm mature. I'm a mature, grown adult. Okay. But it all led to an incredible resolution, and it's earned. Everything about it is earned. It can be a frustrating thing based on execution when a villain goes good. I mean, sometimes... it all comes down to writing. Fortunately, the one good thing about Missy, and it was even kind of set up in a fashion in when we saw Missy in season 9, the prospect that she has a fondness for even season 8, that Missy always had a fondness for the Doctor. The idea of the fondness for the Doctor and the idea of wanting her friend back, and Missy's arc throughout this whole season has been the idea that she's trying to get back to that person that she was when she was friends with the Doctor, and it's set up all throughout Missy's arc, and it's excellent. But the thing I noticed, and I actually kind of called this, in a way, when we saw Missy again in Dark Water, and finding out she had an army of Cybermen, where do we leave John Sim's master? We leave him bleeding on the verge of regeneration on a ship with Cybermen. It's kind of a deft hand on Moffat's part that he not only completed the story arc of one master, he completed the story arc of 2 masters, which is insanely impressive. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to miss about Stephen Moffat when he's gone. And additionally, why I'm a little worried about Chris Chibnall coming in, because he's a completely different writer with his own sensibilities. After having a writer who delights in his level of layered storytelling, it's going to be a weird, jarring change. I mean, I hope Chibnall is up for the challenge. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. but at the same time, he's got a hard act to follow. And I gotta say, to address all throughout this season, Pearl Mackie as Bill has been a probably, for my mind, probably my one of my new favorite companions. I would say probably definitely in my top 10. And I'd say the overall reason why I loved her was her. It wasn't even a matter of what she did as a companion. It was a matter of what she was as a character. And I think it was. This is the one time I was more focused on a companion as a character as opposed to what she was as a companion. And I would have been really sad if she had a tragic finale. And one thing I love about the way Moffat wraps up his companions, I love that he gives them, even when it's a sad ending, it's in a fashion a happy ending. The Pons had a sad happy ending. Clara had an amazing ending, but Bill, in a fashion, she herself is in a really good place, because when you think about it, she really didn't have much on Earth. She didn't know what she was really working towards, but the fact that she is where she winds up now is, honestly, I was, if there's anything that was actually giving me the chills this episode, it was that. Nardole, he was one I always knew was going to be kind of a temporary companion, because Matt Lucas is a popular comedic actor. He was never going to stay with the gig for long. But even Nardole, I love where he ended up as well, and it was kind of sweet in its own right. David Bradley is William Hartnell. We already knew that he was amazing in that. Anyone who did not see An Adventure in Space and Time, you're missing out. It was incredible. But now the fact that he's actually going to go full 9 and actually play the first Doctor. It's a funny day now, where when you look forward to Christmas, it's less about what normally you'd get excited about Christmas about. Now for me, it's all about Doctor Who. And this time I'm really kind of gearing up for Doctor Who. Well, actually, this is convenient, it'll lead to in closing, but I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time I'm not, because, and I had to really think about this. It took pretty much his entire run to really get me to realize this. Capaldi, I think, has probably been my favorite new series Doctor. I hate playing favorites because I loved all the Doctors. I love Matt Smith. I love them all. But Capaldi just brought back, for me as a classic series fan who really got to love all the classic Doctors beforehand, I think Peter Capaldi reminded me why I love Doctor Who so much. I like the fact that he was complicated. I like the fact that he made you work for his, to really get to understand him, to get to know him. And it didn't do my heart good to hear people whining that he wasn't pretty, or that he wasn't nice. And I'm like going, the Doctor goes through different modes. In a fashion, Eccleston's Doctor wasn't nice. A lot of times he let out hard truths. The thing I liked about Capaldi was the fact that he had no patience for, that kind of silliness. I like the fact that we had a Doctor who wasn't easy. You know what he was? He was Daniel Craig's Bond. The first time I saw Daniel Craig's Bond, I felt like I had to work to really kind of acclimatize this drastic change, and Capaldi felt the same way to me, and I'm going to be very sad when he goes. But on that note, to wrap up my review of Season 10, I would say overall it's still a really great season. I'd say my only caveat with this season would be, one thing I really liked about Season 9, I like that they brought back the two-parter structure. It felt more old school. It felt classic. Now, I'm not saying I always want everything to be classic, and there were, and actually this one had a 3-parter, which was really cool, and it had a 2-parter. So it felt, if anything else, it felt like the beginning of the new series, because the new series, when it kicked off, did have 2-parters. But at the same time, I really loved the narrative flow of Season 9, and the fact that because most of the stories are 2-parters, we had more time to let the stories breathe. I felt that there were a lot of good single episodes, which I felt could have benefited from it. I guess you could say it's a minor nitpick, but at the same time, no review should ever be 100% perfect. But overall, I'm going to give Doctor Who Season 10 a 4 out of 5 helpings. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you going to miss Capaldi? Please let us know. Write in the comments section below, and keep it here on Narcotic Casserole.